Want to make your reeds last? I have 3 quick solutions for you in this video, and stay tuned until the end for a bonus tip to revive a dead reed. Hi, I'm Donna from DonnaSchwartzMusic.com, the site to bring your playing and improvisation to the next level. Now, if you want more tips like what I'm going to share with you today, hit that subscribe button, tap the bell to get notified when new videos are out. Reeds dying out after a couple of weeks is always the bane of every saxophone and woodwind musician's experience. That's why tip number 1 is a no-brainer for many saxophonists, clarinetists, oboists, and bassoonists. It's this: use synthetic reeds. Now, before I go on, I'm not being paid to promote any of the brands or products I'm going to be mentioning in this video. This is truly purely for your own information. I've been using Leger reeds for a really long time, back when the studio cuts were available over 15 years ago. Now there's a lot more Leger cuts available, like the Signature and the new American cut, as well as cuts for classical performers. But at this time, in 2022, there are also many other companies making synthetic reeds. You have Harry Hartman's fiber reeds. These have been out for a while. Many of my friends and colleagues and students love these. Also, Silverstein has the Alta reeds, which are a little bit of a hybrid type of reed in the sense that you do have to wet them, but they last a really long time and have a great sound. The company Barry has had synthetic reeds available even longer than Leger, and some of my friends like Claire Daly use them all the time. Richie Cannata from Billy Joel's band uses the Rico plastic covers, which are cane reeds, but with a plastic coating to make them last much longer, and they don't need to be soaked. There's also Bravo and Ven, and there's going to be so many other reeds coming out in the next few years. Now, you have to try them out to see how they feel for you and how they sound. Many of them do sound just as good as cane, but listen, this is definitely a personal preference. Now, synthetic reeds are also great if you live in a really dry or hot area like I do, and areas that are also the opposite, that are really humid, where your reeds could get moldy really quickly. Now, synthetic reeds are also great if you live in an area where there's no music stores around and Amazon doesn't deliver to you, believe it or not. Yeah, there are areas where this happens. I've had a number of students from all over the world who have told me this. The second tip to make your reeds last longer is to learn how to adjust them. And this also includes the synthetic reeds, as you may want to tweak them just a little bit. Now, you can go old school and use reed knives with a glass board, or you can use tools like the Tom Ridenour system, which uses a glass board and a special sandpaper tool-like device with explicit and really easy instructions for adjusting the reeds. If I can follow these instructions, so can you. There's also Reed Geek by Maura DeGioia. Now, this is a really simple tool that's portable, that doesn't require a glass board to use. I've interviewed Maura many times for my Everything Saxophone podcast, and he has tons of videos online on how to use this simple tool for cane and synthetic reeds. In fact, David Sanborn uses the Reed Geek tool. The third tip to make your reeds last longer is to store them wet. Yes, wet. Now, before I go on, I've got a super important point that I need to tell you. Storing your reeds in water only will make them grow mold, but storing them in anything other than the original or a generic brand of Listerine will also make them grow mold, because most mouthwashes contain sorbitol, which is a sugar that, well, will degrade your reeds. And yes, if you're using those mouthwashes, you're gargling with sugar, which should be alarming if you care about your teeth. Now, as explained to me by John Mackey, creator of Rejuvenate, the reeds will last longer because they won't be constantly switching back from dry to wet to dry states, which wears out the reeds. Now, I put a link in the description below explaining this, as well as linking to John's scientific research before creating the product. In fact, Ricky Sweam, who is a great saxophonist from Colorado, where it can be very dry, stores his reeds wet. Now, I had listened to an interview with him, and he said that his reeds lasted months and months. In fact, he had one reed lasting 5 years. Now, of course, he uses that as a practicing reed, not one that he uses in performance, but you get the idea. Now, he used a different style of container, And I explained this along with the Rejuvenate on my website, DonnaSchwartzMusic.com. I'm going to put the link to that article in the description below as well. The extra benefit of storing them wet is that you don't have to spend any time wetting your reed. It's ready to go like a synthetic reed. Now, you may be thinking though that it's bad to have the reed wet all the time or it may get waterlogged. It doesn't, in fact, and it doesn't even affect the sound. The great thing is that you won't have to worry about squeaking because your reeds dried out. Now, when I use cane reeds, I absolutely use Rejuvenate. It stores 3 saxophone or clarinet reeds in color-coded holders, so you know which is your number 1, number 2, and number 3 reeds. Now stay tuned to the end for another bonus tip. Recap. 3 tips to make your reeds last. Number 1, use a synthetic reed. You don't have to wet most of them and they last longer than most cane reeds. Number 2, learn how to adjust your reeds. There are simple to use tools available now for both cane and synthetic reeds. And if I can use them, so can you. Number 3, store your reeds wet in original Listerine or a generic type of mouthwash that has no sorbitol. It'll make them instantly playable, keep them free of germs, and make them last a long time. Here's my bonus tip. It's all about reviving a dead reed. You know, when you find that amazing reed and you just want it to last forever, well, this is a tip. I didn't come up with this. This is a tip I learned from Tracy Heavener that I explain in depth in this video here and in an article on my website. I will put that link in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helped you find the resources you need to make your reeds last longer.